I never believed in the old stories, but now I wish I had. I was a decorated officer, a man of discipline and reason. When I retired, I left behind a lifetime of service, carrying with me memories of places the public would never know existed. But one assignment haunted me, an operation so secret, even speaking about it now feels like inviting something terrible into my life. It was at a military base deep in the Washington wilderness, far removed from civilization. Officially, it was a research outpost, studying atmospheric anomalies. Unofficially, it was something else. Something far older than our military. Something our ancestors feared. I was stationed there to oversee a security transition. The previous commanding officer had resigned under mysterious circumstances. No one talked about him. No one mentioned what happened. They just said, he left. But there were whispers among the lower ranks. The forest took him. I laughed at first. The military didn't believe in ghosts or monsters. We believed in weapons, strategy, and cold, hard facts. But then, I saw the security logs. Each night between 2:33 and 3:12 a.m., the cameras captured something moving along the tree line. Not an animal, not a man. Something tall, thin, and wrong. The footage was always distorted, the figure blurred as if the camera itself refused to see it clearly. The first time I heard the sound, I was alone in my office. It wasn't wind, it wasn't an animal. It was laughter, deep and guttural, echoing from the tree line beyond the fences. The other officers claimed they never heard it, but the lower-ranking soldiers did, and they refused to go outside after dark. One night, I decided to see for myself. I walked the perimeter, rifle in hand, night vision flickering as I moved. The air was wrong, too still, too heavy. My breath came out in shallow gasps, and then I saw them. Markings on the trees, symbols I didn't recognize carved deep into the bark. They hadn't been there before. As I traced my fingers over the grooves, the wind picked up, carrying a low hum, almost like chanting. My radio crackled. "Sir, something's outside the fence." I turned, heart hammering. The cameras were showing movement, something shifting between the trees. Long limbs, impossibly bent, eyes reflecting light where there should be none. I ordered the gates locked down, but the thing never approached. It just stood there, staring, watching. A local ranger visited the base the next morning. An older man, Lakota by descent. He never looked me in the eye, just stared past me as if listening to something I couldn't hear. Then he said, "You shouldn't be here." "We have orders," I told him. "Classified research." He chuckled dryly. "You think you're studying something new?" He gestured at the forest. "They were here before you, before your country, before your wars, and they don't like being disturbed." I dismissed him. But that night, the air turned colder than it should have. The generators flickered. The security team reported hearing whispers over the radio, voices speaking a language none of us recognized. Then one of my men vanished. No alarms, no breaches. He was there one moment and gone the next. His bunk untouched, his rifle still in the armory. We searched the woods for hours. Dogs refused to track his scent, whimpering and pulling away from the tree line. The next morning, we found his boots. Just his boots, standing upright in the clearing beyond the fence. I tried to request evacuation, but command denied it. "Unverified threats," they said. "Remain in position." But we weren't alone anymore. Shadows moved inside the base, too fast to be human. Doors slammed without cause. One night I found muddy footprints leading to my office. Bare feet, elongated toes, stopping just outside my door. I barely slept. And when I did, I dreamt of the forest swallowing me whole. Then came the final night. The alarms blared at 2:33 a.m. motion detected. Every camera went black simultaneously. The generators failed. The only light came from the moon, casting long, distorted shadows. We took our positions, rifles aimed at the perimeter, but we never saw it coming. A scream tore through the base, followed by gunfire, then another scream, the sound of metal twisting. I ran toward the commotion, but by the time I reached the barracks, half my men were gone. And then I saw it. The entity stepped from the tree line, its body flickering between shapes. One moment, a towering figure draped in shadows. The next, something smaller, shifting, writhing, like it was wearing a human form that didn't quite fit. Its eyes, they weren't eyes at all, just empty voids pulling everything into them. I don't remember how I escaped. I only remember running. The next thing I knew, I was outside the base, the sun rising, my clothes torn, my hands covered in dirt. The base was abandoned, silent. The remaining personnel were gone. No bodies, no traces, just the symbols, freshly carved into the concrete walls. I resigned that day. The official report called it an accident. Equipment failure, structural collapse, no mention of the missing men, no mention of the thing in the woods. But I know the truth. And now, so do you. If you ever find yourself near an old, abandoned military outpost in the Washington wilderness, don't stop. Don't look. And whatever you do, never listen to the laughter coming from the trees, because once you hear it, it knows your name.